All right, Titans fans, the rules here at Chat Sports are very simple. The more subscribers a channel has, the more videos you guys end up getting. Right now, we're a bit over the halfway mark to get to 1,000 subscribers here at our Tennessee Titans channel. If you want us to get there, if you want us to have more videos for you guys on everything going on around the Tennessee Titans, then subscribe right now. That way, we get to 1,000 and you don't miss out on anything here around the Tennessee Titans. You're watching Tennessee Titans Today by Chat Sports. I am Tom Downey, here to break down the final roster moves that the Tennessee Titans made in order to get down to the 85-man roster limit. The deadline to do that was August 17th at 4 p.m. Eastern, because that's when the NFL day ends. Kind of weird, but that's the deadline. Now, this is not the end of the moves that are coming for Tennessee. August 24th, they got to get down to 80, so 5 more moves will have to come by then. Then August 30th, that's the initial, at least, 53-man roster line. But first, the moves that went down for this one. First up is Paul Adams, the offensive tackle. This one is a true roster cut. I'll explain the difference here in a little bit. The Titans chose to waive Adams because, well, they didn't need him anymore, and he was never going to make the roster. He's bounced around the NFL for a couple of years now as really more of a camp body and not a whole lot else. The Titans, compared to most teams in the NFL, actually in pretty good shape at tackle. They've got Taylor Lewan, who of course is awesome. Dylan Radunz long-term is going to be this particular team's future at right tackle, I believe. And then you got Brent Quall, and maybe he's an option. Tyson Brailo's a decent depth guy. I don't really know if they're great tackles, but look, around the NFL, it's bad. It's bad. So not a huge surprise to release Adams. They still go 6 deep, and relative to the rest of the NFL, they've got pretty good depth. On the flip side is the defense tackle spot. Now, we'll label these as cuts, but Trevon Coley was actually placed on IR, ending his season. Now, he was going to compete for, at minimum, a role in the rotation, I think, for Tennessee. Coley going on IR after dealing with multiple other issues on this team's defensive line is a major, major problem for Tennessee. That is a big issue as it relates to figuring out how they handle that 5-man front. They are thin on the interior of the defensive line. That 5-man front is an issue for Tennessee. Figuring out what the rotation looks like now on the interior is a bit of a question mark. Coley, I thought, was going to fight and compete for a role on that 53-man roster, on that 5-man front for Tennessee. Now, Danico Autry is going to be one key piece on that defensive end position. Tyir Tarts, maybe he competes for nose guard. Jeffrey Simmons is a stud. If that's your top 3, okay, I guess it's fine. I'll list Rashad Reaver. He's more of an edge, but I'll throw him in there to make the numbers work because the depth is bad on that interior defensive line, right? I like Laurel Murchison, Hal Pecco, Woodrow Hamilton, Naquan Jones. It's just not good. So that position, that interior defensive line, is the biggest concern for me right now as it relates to Tennessee. Now, the Titans have been active and aggressive in terms of adding safeties, but much like Coley, Tedric Thompson is heading to IR. He has been placed on injured reserve, and much like Coley, by the way, if you're placed on IR before you make it on the active 53-man roster for at least one day, your season's over. So Thompson will not be able to return after he just recently was actually added to the active roster by Tennessee. So they brought in Thompson, and quickly his season's now over. They also brought in Bradley McDougall, Clayton Geathers, all in a very short period of time. Unfortunately, Thompson's season's over. We'll see what the final roster looks like. There's a lot of experience there. Kevin Byard, Amani Hooker, Dane Cruikshank, Matthias Farley, Bradley McDougall, Clayton Geathers, Brady Breeze, a 6th-round pick. All those things, they make it a little bit tricky to juggle everything. Now, the Titans had signed 2 of those safeties, so they actually ended up making more moves than the 3, but these other 5 moves came over 24 hours ago, so just mentioning them briefly here. Deion Yelder cut at tight end along with defensive back Reggie Floyd of Virginia Tech. They also cut the backup punter James Smith. Oh no. Meanwhile, Maurice Smith had been waived injured, has now reverted to IR, and Kevin Peterson also placed on IR. So that's secondary, and that defensive tackle group a little bit thin for Tennessee. So which cut, or if you just want to go move in general, surprised you guys the most? Get your votes in for me right now in the comments section.